Imagine being 13 years old, watching your family fall apart. Your parents separate. You lose your home. And instead of being wrapped in the arms of someone who loves you, the state takes you away. Now imagine that the very place the state puts you, the place meant to protect you, becomes the site of your worst nightmare. And then imagine, after all of that, that the same state that failed to protect you offers you one final solution: death. This is the true story of Noelia Castillo Ramos. She was 25 years old, and on the 26th of March, 2026, she died, legally, in a healthcare center in Barcelona, Spain. This is not a story about euthanasia, the process which made her death legitimate. This is a story about what happens when a child is failed again, and again, and again, and nobody is held accountable. Stay with me, because you need to hear this. Noelia Castillo Ramos was born on the 14th of November, 2000, in Spain. By most accounts, her early childhood had moments of warmth, which she herself once described periods of her life as a very happy time. But underneath that surface, things were deeply unstable. Her parents struggled. There were issues with addiction and mental health in the household. And when Noelia was just 13 years old, everything collapsed. Her parents separated. They lost their home. And Noelia, a teenage girl who had done absolutely nothing wrong, was taken into state care. Think about that for a moment. 13 years old, removed from your family, placed in the hands of strangers. She was diagnosed, in those years, with obsessive-compulsive disorder and borderline personality disorder. Two conditions that, together, can make you feel like the world is constantly closing in on you. Like you are never quite safe. Like you are always at the mercy of things beyond your control. She lived in state-supervised care centers for years, from 2015, when she was just 14, until 2019, when she turned 18 and walked out as a legal adult. She had survived childhood in the system. She had made it through. But the system wasn't done with her yet. In 2022, Noelia was 21 years old. What happened to her that year is something no person should ever have to endure. According to her own testimony, which she gave publicly, bravely, in a televised interview just days before her death, she was sexually assaulted. More than once. First, by a former partner. Someone she had trusted. And then, in a nightclub, she says she was attacked by 3 men. The trauma broke something inside her. And just days after that final assault, Noelia attempted to take her own life. She jumped from the 5th floor of an apartment building. She survived. But the fall left her paralyzed from the waist down, completely. Medical reports confirmed a full spinal cord injury, causing irreversible paraplegia, chronic neuropathic pain, sensory impairment, and severe daily suffering with no prospect of recovery. In one night, the woman who had already survived so much lost the use of her legs. Forever. She was 21 years old. After her suicide attempt, Noelia was taken to hospital, then transferred to the Gutman Clinic in Barcelona for intensive neurorehabilitation. She worked hard. By some accounts, including video footage referenced in court proceedings, she made remarkable progress in that facility. She was seen climbing stairs, with assistance. Her lawyer, representing her father, would later say, the Generalitat had helped a young woman who had terrible injuries, operated on her several times, took her to rehabilitation, helped her to climb stairs, and now they will kill her. But Noelia's inner world told a different story. In interviews, she described her existence as unbearable. She had no desire to eat. Sleeping was almost impossible due to constant back and leg pain. She felt utterly alone. She told the world, I have always felt alone, because I have never felt understood. Even before requesting euthanasia, I viewed my world as very dark. And so, in April 2024, 10 months after leaving rehabilitation, Noelia formally applied for euthanasia under Spain's law, which had been passed in 2021. On the 18th of July, 2024, the Catalonia Guarantee and Evaluation Commission granted her application. Unanimously, they found she had a non-recoverable clinical situation causing severe dependence, pain, and chronic, disabling suffering. The state that had failed to protect her as a child had now approved her death. Now let me tell you about Geronimo Castillo, Noelia's father. A man who, whatever complexities existed in their relationship, decided he was not going to let his daughter die without a fight. The moment he found out the euthanasia had been approved, Geronimo went to war. With the system, with the courts, with the government, with anyone who would listen. He argued, consistently and passionately, that his daughter's mental health conditions, her borderline personality disorder, her history of suicide attempts, her trauma, meant she was not in a position to make a truly free and informed decision to end her life. That she needed more time, more treatment, more love. He was backed by an organization called Christian Lawyers, who also filed formal criminal complaints against the medical and legal professionals who had approved Noelia's request. And he fought. God, how he fought. First, a Barcelona court. He delayed the procedure, scheduled for August 2024, by a single day, winning a temporary injunction. Then the High Court of Justice of Catalonia. Then the Spanish Supreme Court. Then the Constitutional Court of Spain. Then the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. 5 judicial levels. 20 months. 601 days. Every single one of them ruled against him. Every court said Noelia was mentally capable of making this decision. That she understood what she was choosing. That her suffering was real, irreversible, and met the legal standard. And then, on March 10, 2026, the European Court of Human Rights rejected his final plea. It was over. On the 25th of March, one day before her death, Noelia's father went to court one final time, asking a judge to investigate her medical legal team. The judge dismissed it for lack of jurisdiction. Geronimo Castillo had done everything a father could possibly do. It wasn't enough. The night before she died, Noelia Castillo sat down for a television interview on the Spanish program on Antena 3. Her mother, Yolanda, sat beside her. Her mother, who had said she hoped her daughter would change her mind. Who had reportedly prayed she would reconsider. But who had also said, "I will always be by her side." Noelia spoke clearly, calmly, painfully honestly. She said, "I want to leave in peace already and stop suffering, period." She talked about her daily reality. "I have no desire to do anything, not to go out, not to eat, not to do anything at all. Sleeping is very difficult for me. I suffer from back pain as well as leg pain." She talked about loneliness. "I have always felt alone. I have never felt understood. No one has ever empathized with me." She addressed her father directly, with a compassion that is, frankly, extraordinary given everything. "I understand he is a father, that he does not want to lose a daughter." She said that after losing his final legal battle, her father had stopped calling or visiting her. That he had told her, for him, "I am already dead." And she admitted, quietly, devastatingly, that those words had caused her deep pain in her final days. She said, the happiness of a father, a mother, or a sister should not come before the happiness of a daughter. And then she said something remarkable. Something that humanized her completely. She said, She did not want other people to follow her path. That her decision was personal. That she was not making an argument for euthanasia. She was just tired. And she wanted it to stop. She had asked for one final thing, to be alone in her room. To be dressed beautifully. To be surrounded by photographs from her childhood, her school days, the moments she had treasured. On the evening of 26th of March, 2026, at a healthcare center in Sant Pere de Ribes, just outside Barcelona, Noelia Castillo Ramos died. Doctors administered drugs intravenously that induced deep sedation, followed by respiratory arrest. Designed, the medical team said, to prevent her from experiencing any pain. In her final moments, she had asked to be alone. Outside the building, protesters gathered. Religious groups. Ultra-conservative activists. Some held signs. Some prayed. A former friend named Carla Rodriguez came to the hospital to beg Noelia to change her mind. Police barred her from entering. A British pianist, James Rhodes, had reached out to Noelia on social media hours before, offering to pay all of her medical bills until she could take this decision from a slightly more tranquil place. Inside, Noelia was alone, as she had asked to be. She was 25 years old. The reaction to Noelia's death split Spain and much of the world, straight down the middle. Spanish politicians debated the case in the Congress of Deputies. Left-wing parties and regional independence groups largely supported her right to choose. Right-wing parties, including the People's Party and Vox, condemned the decision. The Spanish Bishops' Conference released a statement saying, "When life hurts, the response cannot be to shorten the path, but to walk it together." They called the case a profound collective failure. Bioethics professors wrote that Noelia didn't need the Spanish state to offer her death. She needed it to offer her meaning, help, and the possibility of healing. But supporters of Spain's euthanasia law argued that Noelia was of sound mind, had been assessed by multiple independent medical professionals, had fought through 5 courts, and that to deny her right to choose would be to deny her humanity. Her father's lawyers said, this case exposes the failure of the euthanasia law. It facilitates suicide without the individual having received prior mental health treatment. And that, for many people, is the heart of the debate. Because here is what we know. Noelia was gang raped. She was never told whether the men who assaulted her faced any consequences. Noelia attempted suicide as a direct result of that trauma. The state helped rehabilitate her body. But did the state ever truly address what had been done to her? Did anyone ever sit with her, for months, for years, and work to rebuild what those men had destroyed? Or was death simply easier? Noelia Castillo Ramos lived 25 years on this earth. 13 of those years were spent in a family that couldn't hold itself together. Years were spent in state care. And then, in the space of one terrible night in 2022, her body was violated, her mind was shattered, and her legs were taken from her. She asked to die. And the state said yes. Her father asked the world to save her. And the world said no. I'm not here to tell you what to think about euthanasia. That is a conversation that will go on long after this video ends. Spain's law has helped over 1,100 people since 2021. For many of them, it was a genuine mercy. But Noelia's story makes you ask a harder question. Did we, as a society, do everything we possibly could for this young woman before we agreed to end her life? Did we prosecute the men who assaulted her? Did we give her years of trauma-informed care? Did we fight as hard for her life as the courts fought for her right to die? Or did the system that failed her as a child fail her one final time at 25? Noelia Castillo Ramos. Born November 14, 2000. Died March 26, 2026. May she finally be at peace. If this story moved you, share it. Someone needs to hear it. Subscribe to The Things People Do for more stories that matter. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one.